The moment Commander Leary caught the humans staring, the gravity on Deck 7 failed, and for half a second, everyone floated as if the universe itself had gasped. I wish I could say that was a metaphor. It wasn't. Alarms chirped in a polite, alien cadence while my boots lifted off the deck. Leary's eyes, faceted, luminous, and very much not human, locked onto mine as we drifted. Her four pupils narrowed, her crests flared, and her gaze followed the line of my vision downward, right to her chest. That was the first time I realized I was going to die very far from Earth. But that was only the beginning. The Kepri trade station hung over the amber clouds of Nyssa like a jeweled scar. It was neutral ground for a dozen species and one experimental human envoy program that had somehow chosen me. I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a diplomat. I was a systems linguist with a knack for pattern recognition and a tendency to panic silently. Commander Leary of the Virex Combine was my assigned counterpart. Brilliant, efficient, terrifyingly honest. Virex culture prized erectness above all else. Lies were considered a mild neurological disorder, which meant she knew. She knew I'd been staring. As gravity slammed back into place, I stumbled. Leary didn't. She never did. Her uniform, layered, iridescent fabric designed for a species with different proportions, settled flawlessly against her form, against her anatomy, against the very thing my stupid human brain had fixated on. She tilted her head. "Human Alex Mercer," she said, voice smooth as cold glass. "Explain." Every conversation with her felt like standing at the edge of an airlock. Explain what?" I asked. Her eyes flicked precise. "Your visual fixation. Duration, 3.4 seconds. Repeated twice. Focus on my thoracic nutrient structures." Thoracic, nutrient, structures. I swallowed. Around us, crew members pretended very hard not to exist. The station hummed. Somewhere, reactor side. "This is not a mating display," Leary added, "nor a challenge. Your pupils dilated. Your heart rate increased." "Why?" What I said next would decide the future of my species' credibility. And none of us were prepared for the truth. Humans were new to the galactic community. We were emotional, erratic, fascinating, dangerous. That's what the briefing said. The Virex, by contrast, were ancient and logical to a fault. Their females, Leary among them, possessed prominent thoracic organs used for nutrient synthesis and pheromonal signaling. They were not sexualized, ever, except by me. "I wasn't trying to offend you," I said carefully. "It's just, human brains are wired differently. Sometimes we notice things before we think." "Your species lacks voluntary visual control?" she asked. "We have it," I said. "We're just bad at it." A pause stretched. Her crest dimmed slightly. "Continue," she said. I took a breath. Honesty. Virex valued honesty. Brutal honesty. "In my culture," I said, "those structures are associated with intimacy, comfort, life. When humans see them, it can trigger reactions, not always sexual. Sometimes it's just recognition, familiarity." Leary blinked. "Once, twice. You associate my anatomy with emotional safety," she said. "Yes," I said, "and curiosity. And, if I'm being completely honest, confusion." Silence felt like a hell breath. Then, impossibly, her skin shifted hue. A faint, blooming violet spread across her cheeks. The commander of a war-born species had just blushed. What I saw next changed everything. The incident should have ended there, an awkward footnote in a long mission report. Instead, Leary requested a private cultural exchange. That was never good. We met in the observation dome, where the clouds of Nyssa rolled beneath transparent alloy. Stars glittered like spilled code. Leary stood with her hands clasped behind her back, posture perfect. "In Virex society," she said, "we do not experience embarrassment. But my neural net registered an anomaly. Heat, irregular coloration, disruption, blushing." I said softly. "Yes," she replied. "Explain why your honesty caused it." I hesitated. This wasn't in the handbook. "Because you saw yourself through human eyes," I said. not as a commander, not as a biological system, but as someone who could be seen, not measured. Her gaze sharpened. Being seen is dangerous. For us, I said, it's how we connect. The dome lights dimmed as the station rotated. Leary looked out at the stars. Virex history teaches that emotion leads to error, she said. Error leads to extinction. And yet, I said, you're still here. She turned, because we adapted, by removing emotion. A warning flickered in my chest. This was the edge of something vast. Over the following cycles, our conversations deepened. She asked about human art, music, touch. I asked about Virex memory lattices and the Great Severing, the event when they purged emotional variants from their genome. Each answer revealed a crack. But that was only the beginning. The mid-cycle summit arrived with ceremonial gravity. Delegates gathered. Treaties hovered on holograms. And beneath it all, a secret pulse through the station's core. I found it by accident, an encrypted Virex channel. Emotional suppression protocols. Active. Station-wide. They weren't just studying humans. They were testing us. I confronted Leary in the engine ring, where the hum was loud enough to drown fear. You're dampening emotions, I said. Mine. Yours. Everyone's. Her expression didn't change, but something behind her eyes did. It is necessary, she said. Human emotional volatility threatens interspecies stability. So you're going to rewrite us? I asked. No, she said. We are going to decide if you deserve to remain yourselves. That was the turning point. The moment the story twisted. Then you're already lost, I said. She flinched, a micro-expression. But I saw it. Why? She demanded. Because the thing you felt when I looked at you wasn't error, I said. It was empathy. And you're afraid of it. Her voice dropped. Empathy destroyed us once. Or maybe, I said, you destroyed it before it could save you. Alarms began to wail. Not polite this time. Urgent. The suppression field was overloading, destabilizing the station. Leary stared at the control interface. Her hands trembled. I can shut it down, she said, but the council will exile me. I stepped closer. Or you can let it run. And never feel confused again. She looked at me, really looked. At your species, she said quietly, and your foolish honesty. Her fingers hovered. Then she shut it down. The backlash was immediate. Emotions flooded back like a tidal wave. Panic, relief, wonder, across species lines. The station held. So, did she? In the aftermath, the council's verdict came swift and cold. Leary was stripped of command, assigned as cultural liaison to Earth. With me, on the transport, as stars stretched into lines. She stood beside me at the viewport. I am still processing what I felt, she said. When you looked at me, I'm still processing what it meant, I replied. Her skin warmed to that faint violet again. In Virex terms, she said, your gaze was intrusive. I winced. I'm sorry. In human terms, she continued, it was honest. She turned to face me fully. Do not stop seeing me, she said. Just learn when to look away. I smiled a little sadly. Deal. Earth grew larger ahead of us, blue and fragile. And as the first human-alien envoy descended together, I realized something that would echo through history. Sometimes the smallest, most embarrassing truths are the ones that change the galaxy forever.